Hey there, this is Amrit here from Hacks and Geeks, and today I'll be showing you how to install Kali Linux from an USB to your computer. First, you need to open this link, and all the links will be put under the description so you can go there and download this anytime. Then, you should click on the download Lily option, and it will prompt you to download 6MB software. Download that and keep that aside. And the next thing you're gonna be doing is clicking on the other website, that is the Kali Linux official website, and downloading the Kali Linux image. And if you that's www.kali.org/downloads. If you scroll down, there are too many options to download from. There is Kali Linux 64-bit, 32-bit, and there are even light images, and there are even other images. So what I prefer is to download the first two images there. And if you don't know how to do this, know which operating system you're on, if you're using in 64-bit or 32-bit, what you need to do is hold your Windows key and press R, then type msinfo32 and hit enter. Once you do that, there'll be an window opened that says system information, and the first thing that will be displayed is your operating system itself. In case mine is Microsoft Windows 10. Down there'll be your manufacturer name and the system type, and the system type is what you have to look for. Mine is in 64-bit PC, so mine is in 64-bit, and you may have a different one. You may have x32 or x86. If you have something like x32 or x86, then you have in 32-bit, and you need to download the 32-bit Kali Linux image. That's Kali Linux 32-bit image. If you have 64-bit like I have, then you need to download the top one, that is Kali Linux 64-bit. Those two are the main thing I want to tell you now, and you can even download that directly or by using the torrents. I have already downloaded it and put onto my desktop. So now what I should do is click on open for the download which I did before, that's the Linux Live USB Creator, and I have to install that. Once I do the installation, it'll open up saying Linux Live USB Creator, and then you need to select your USB at the top menu. I have already inserted my SanDisk 8GB pen drive, and I clicked on that. Then below there is an option for ISO img/zip. I need to click that and browse to my ISO image which I copied to my desktop. So I'm going to navigate it there and selecting that Kali Linux 2016.2, and this is the one I'm using right now, and the installation steps is same for the previous versions too. And it needs to read it until it gets 100, but sometimes it may say this operating system isn't compatible, but that's not a matter. You can install it anyway. And then what you need to do is enable the option to format your pendrive in FAT32, but before that back up all the files in your USB onto your computer or to a backup place, because it's going to format. And uncheck the option which says enable launching in Windows, because that's going to install VirtualBox, and that's not the thing what we are doing here. Then what you need to do is click on that lightning icon, and you'll be prompted with a format pendrive menu and hit enter that. And it's probably going to take 5 to 10 minutes depending upon your system capabilities and your pen drive you're using. If you're using 3.0 or 2.0, depending that, it may take a while. And once it's ready, it'll show your Linux Live USB is up and ready now, and then you can pull out your USB and turn off your computer. I'm going to switch to my camera view now to show you guys what happens later that and what you need to do exactly. So now I switch to my camera view, and you can see my BIOS setup. If you don't know how to open this BIOS setup, you need to search in Google for your exact model, because I can't explain these things for every model. And I'm now doing it with my Lenovo laptop, and this menu looks similar, and you need to navigate to the boot menu in your BIOS, and usually it will be just UEFI as is shown below, but you need to enable the UEFI legacy support and enable the USB boot too. And below there are boot priority order. For the first boot priority order, you need to keep your USB as your first boot order, and the second one as your hard disk on which you are going to install the Kali Linux. But for now I'm not doing that because I have an option, separate option to boot from. So that's not a problem for me, but you may face that problem, and you may have the option for boot priority order, and you can do that there. And if you're not getting this legacy support option, you need to go to security, and the first option will be to set an password. Set the password there and come below, and there'll be an option called as secure boot, and disable that. Then you'll be able to find the legacy support in the boot menu. Once that's completed, I'm going to the settings there and clicking on exit saving changes and highlighting yes, I'm going to hit enter. Now what's it going to do is restart my system, and now usually in all the laptops, to go to boot menu or BIOS menu, you'll be pressing F2, F12 or delete keys, any of these three keys. But my system unfortunately doesn't recognize this. My old computer has some problems with that. The kernel doesn't support that. So what I have to do is I have to use my traditional menu to go to the boot menu using a Novo button that's pre-built onto the Lenovo laptops. But usually in other laptops you'll be pressing F2 or F12 for that. And now I go to my boot menu instead of BIOS setup and select my USB, where I have copied all the files using Linux Live USB Creator. So this is the 8GB fun drive which I use there. I'm going to hit enter. Now it's going to prompt me with the Kali menu. In the last video I explained how to live boot Kali Linux. I'll put a link in the description down below where you can check that. But for now we need install or graphical install. Graphical install is easier, but I don't like it. I usually prefer the normal install menu. So what I'm going to do is click on install. Now it will take a few seconds, and this is the actual bug I'm facing with the Kali Linux 2.0 versions or later versions from 2. Now what you need to do is select your language, and now I'm going to select the country and the keyboard layout. After that, now this is the bug what I'm facing. It fails to detect our pen drive which is inserted. It detects it as CD-ROM, but it doesn't detect now. So what I'm going to do is remove my pen drive from the computer. Now again going to hit enter. As you can see, I have the pen drive in my hand. Now I can insert it down after 5 seconds, and again going to hit enter. Now it may give you a menu saying that it can't detect, or it may take few seconds, or it may take until 3 minutes. If it's taking more than 3 minutes, then there is some problem. Restart the procedure. But if it isn't, then you'll get that menu and hit the continue, and you'll get this options highlighted, and detect and mount the CD-ROM. Now you can insert the pen drive now, or you could have inserted before, nothing, doesn't matter. Now if you hit enter, now the bug is gone. Now it'll start detecting the USB that you have inserted, and start loading all the required components it's needed, all the hardware components and all the softwares. It detects if everything is proper in it and it's in its place, then it will let you to install it. Now what it's trying to do is trying to detect a link on your computer. If you have plugged in your Ethernet adapter, or if you have an Wi-Fi, you can connect it here because it will be used for the updates. But as I have the latest version of Kali Linux, I won't be doing this, and the network will configure itself when you boot the Kali Linux first time. So this doesn't actually matter. So what I'm going to do is, now I'm going to select the Ethernet adapter, and it again tries to detect the internet connection. As I don't have it plugged any Ethernet adapter or anything, so it will give me an error saying that this procedure has been failed. As you can see, the configuring the network has been failed. The network configuration has been failed. Now what I can do is go to the last option which says do not configure the network at this time, and hit enter there. Now I need to configure the host name, and I'll leave it as default. That's Kali, and hit enter. Now I have to type the password for the root. In Linux, root means the admin. You have the administrator privileges. Now I'm going to type the default password which is given by Kali, which says TOR words of root. But you can put any password there. Now it's asking me to retype the password. I'm typing it again and clicking enter again. Now I have selected my time zone. It's going to load additional components. Later it will set up the partitioner. This is where you set up your disk space for installing Kali Linux, and this is where the part you have to be careful. If you have just a single SSD or a hard disk, you will just directly select guided if you have backed up everything and you just have only a separate SSD. But if you don't and you want to make some changes to the SSD or the hard disk you have present, you have to select manual there, and you'll get this menu. Once you get that, as you can see, I have a 240GB hard disk there. What I'm going to do now is delete the partition there. So once I delete the partition, I have 240GB of free space which I can allocate as different volumes for my swap space, my file system, and for my usage disk. So I have selected that space. Now I'll get to create a new partition. I'm going to create about 100 GB for Kali Linux. Now I'm going to click on beginning and hit enter. Now what you have to do is go to the users options and click that, and you need to have ext4 journaling file system to install Kali. So that's where your Kali Linux is going to install, and the mount option should be just in slash. That should be the root of the file system. Then come down and select done setting up this partition. Then again you'll have about 140 GB of free space. In that I'm going to allow in 5 GB of swap space, even though you can just allow about 500 MB for this. It's going to act as a failsafe for your RAM if it's getting overloaded or something, but it won't be as powerful as it. But I like to keep an swap area of 5 GB usually. So I'm going to select use as swap area and done setting up the partition. Now there is about 134 GB of free space. What I'm going to do is create a new partition about that much and select use as do not use. So it will not use my partition for any file systems or any other swap area, so I can store files on that. Once I do that, I can just click on done setting up the partition. Now everything is set up. The final thing we have to do is go to the last option, that is finish partition, and write the changes to the disk and hit enter. Once you do that, you'll get a warning saying that do you want to write changes to the disk. Select S and hit enter. Then it will format the partitions and allocate the disk space which we have done now. So it will allocate 100 GB for the first drive and 5 GB for space and 134 GB for the storage space. Now it's going to install the system, and it may take around 30 minutes to an hour. So sit and wait. Then you can do the other options which are left. So once the installation is completed, it will ask you to configure the package manager, and if you have the internet connection you can get the updates, but as this is the latest version, I haven't inserted my Ethernet adapter, so I'll just clicking no. But if you want to get updates at the time, you can just plug in and you can configure that mirror. Now it's installing the Grub bootloader. This is what lets you to boot into Kali Linux, and if you click no at this installation, you're going to face some problems and you won't be able to boot into Kali. Now it's going to take a while and install it, and here you have to press yes, never press no here as I said, and or else you won't be able to boot into Kali Linux. It should have configured the Grub bootloader automatically, but it is not configuring this time. If this happens to you, then what you have to select is you have to select the partition that's named as /dev/sda. That will be the partition where you have installed your Kali Linux, that is /ext4 journaling system, if you remember that, and that's the partition that's called as /dev/sda. Once you do that and hit enter, that's the master Grub bootloader that will be installed there. Don't select any other partition, else you're going to corrupt any other partitions that's there. So always remember that /dev/sda. So after that you'll get the finished installation pop-up. Then you click continue, and it's going to take a while and finish the installation. Now the installation is finished. Now it's going to kill all the processes. At this time, remove your pen drive. Now it's going to boot up to the installed hard disk or the SSD, whatever you have for that. As you can see, that's the Grub bootloader I was talking about. Now you can select the first option and hit enter. So once you hit enter, it tries to boot up to your SSD or your hard disk or wherever you installed your Kali. And this time it's going to take few seconds to minutes, depends, because it's the first boot. From next time it's not going to take this much of time, but in the first boot, it's going to take a while. Wait until you see the place where you have to type your username and password. So now I have the place where I have to type the username. It took about 3 minutes for me now. And now I'm going to type my username, that was root, R-O-O-T, and this is by default, and don't change it, and I recommend not to change it, but you can change it of course. And the password was to root. When I enter that, at the first time it's going to take around 10-15 seconds to boot from my desktop, and the desktop is here now. I can work within properly opening whatever I want. I'm going to be opening few things here, but the only problem we faced here was the installation and data corruption, which may happen if you are having any other disk and if you are trying to dual boot it onto a single hard disk with different partitions. Prior, while I was a year back, that happened to me and I lost all my data. But that's not a problem when you're using a different hard disk, because you may make some mistakes because of that, which may make you lose all your data. But if you don't want to take this risk, or you don't have a separate SSD to install it, you may do one thing. You can use this in VMware or VirtualBox, or even by live booting. For all these three, I have different guides, and which have linked down below in the description, which you can go and read that. And they'll have some advantages, and these will have some advantages. Finally, you can stick with whatever you want and what you like. But I usually like to have an VMware installed, and even a separate SSD. So used to, and even I do live boots a few times. It depends upon the scenarios I'll be using. Thank you for watching the video, guys. Please like the video, hit that like button. But if you think it was awesome, get subscribed and hit the like button. And if you want to support us, you can share this video on your social media to me. And that's it for today, guys. Stay awesome. Bye.